טוב. שלום עליכם. שלום עליכם. Shalom Aleichem.
It's me.
Are you from
Some guys.
You come from Australia? Well, anyway, you're here, books.
Okay. We met by the direct meeting anyway. I know him from California.
Huh?
I know him from California. I know him from California.
Got a telephone?
From California. I know him from California.
So, are you all right? Hello? Are you all right?
I'm happy.
That's what you're on the table there, and you put the chairs. The chairs behind you there.
I'm not. Because I'm like standing.
We are learning this evening, Bruchim Aboim, to all those taking part in the class. We're learning this evening the Rebbe's Dvar Malchus, Parsha Tisa, Toshin Nun Bey. And the learning is taking place in the Beis Knesset Tzemach Tzedek, Asher Be'ir HaKodesh, Ir Atiko, Asher Be'ir HaKodesh Tzfat. And this evening is Thursday night, Oyer Liyud Zayin, Oder Rishon, Tovshin Ayin Tet. So the Rebbe begins that Parsha Kisiso Yeshnoi Dover Manyan. We find a very especially interesting aspect. If we look generally and carefully at Parsha Kisiso. Kol Parsha Malaya Benoisim Shoinim Umaguvanim. The whole Parsha is full of all sorts of many different and variated and variegated themes. Shemilvad ha'oda shekulam koru beretzav echon. Apart from the fact that all of these things all happened in one flow, they all went one after the other. Nonetheless, it would appear at first glance that Ein Shum Kesher B'neihem, because they're very different in their very essence of what they represent. But Chila, this is not Mamish, but this is already in Shani, but Chila Masupa Oides Aluchais Harishoinais. Yeah, we're told right at the beginning that Moshe Rabbeinu received Luchas Rishones, Pi HaKadosh Baruch Hu, at Sinai. Even though the whole Indian of Matan Torah and everything connected has been much earlier, at the end of Parsha Mishpatim. Dover Gevoya B'Yoisa, the first Luchas, very elevated Gilui Elokus. Because it's brought down in the Sefer HaYom Yom, if you guys are familiar, but the Rebbe brings over there that the Luchas Rishonos had certain great advantageous milas to them that we don't find in the Luchas Shniyos. Even though in the Luchas Shniyos we have other Inyanim, which we're going to see, that they have their own very weight swinging mila, but Begoloi, the Luchas Rishonos, first of all, the Luchas themselves were Maisa Elokim. The writing was Ksav Eloki, it was amongst the writing of Hashem, and the Luchas Rishonos were, as you know, miraculously read in both directions the same way, both from the front and the back. As it brought down B'divrei Chazal, and Rashi also mentions that. And in addition to all that, the Luchas Roshanas were given when Yidden hadn't sinned yet. There was all prior. I suppose, there hadn't been the whole tremendous Yerida, the Chet Egel, let's put it that way, at this point. So the Gemara tells us that had Yidden not sinned, then all we would have needed was the Seres HaDibra and maybe Sefer Yehoshua, something like that, but that would have been the whole Torah, because the world was pure, and when Yidden received the Seres HaDibros at Sinai, they were all pure, and the whole effect of the Chedei Tzadas was lost. And they were pure, they lost all traces, what you might call uncleanliness, which had occurred from the Chedei Tzadas. They went back to how Adam was B'tchilas Habriya, Koydam HaChet. Everybody stood at Sinai. So the Luchas Roshanes represent a very, very high level, both Mitzad the Makablim, who are Yidden, and the Nasina on the part of the Eibishter, and the etzem essence of the Luchas Roshanas themselves. So Kunta is that they're a very, very high level. Achachach, however, immediately following that, we have the Minafin Shviras Haluchas. So Moshe Rabbeinu takes that unbelievable gilui given to the Jewish people by the Eibishter, and he throws it down under the mountain, and it gets broken, due to the fact that he heard about what had occurred when it get to the Chet Egel. So the Rebbe said, Yerida Atzuma. Well, that represents a tremendous Yerida. Here we got the Luchas Roshanas, Taklis HaShleimas from all levels and in all Madrigas, and then all of a sudden, Chet Egel, which is absolutely the extreme opposite of all that. And then Moshe Rabbeinu sees fit to break the Luchas, to cast them into an area where they broke. And the Eibishter says to him, Yasher koichacho sheshibarta. The Eibishter thanks him, as it were, that he did that. So the Rebbe said that's the two things are the exact opposite. And then we have Shleishes Midas Arachmim. We have the Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim. Moshe Rabbeinu prays, and the Eibishter reveals the Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim. Yeah, Oidav, that's a tremendous thing. So here we see we're zigzagging. Here we have the Luchas, right? Then the Chet Egel and Shviras Haluchas. Then we go up to Yud Gimel Midas Arachmim. He said, Ve'ilu Haluchas HaChoreinais, which also follows along in the whole narrative. Yeah, Hinam Suk Luchas Shoinas Lakamri. They are another type of Luchas altogether, as all the Inyonim brought down in the Sefer HaYom Yom. In other words, they were Maisi Yadei Odom, not of the Eibishter. All sorts of other things that Luchas Roshanas are not comparable, it would seem, to the Luchas Roshanas. Umikach, and that follows that Shekol Zeh Mofia B'Parsha. It's all in one parsha, they're all together, and they all follow one quite swiftly, one after the other. Muvan Shekol HaNosim Halalu Hinam Chelik Meretzev Echad. Well, that would tend to indicate that all these very, very different aliyahs for Yeridas are all part of one development. Now, the word Retzev is a usage of the translator that means like a swift passage of time and development of events chronologically one after the other. But the implication of the Rebbe is that not only these very different things happen close in development of time one to the other, but also what the Rebbe is implying is that they're very different in their spiritual content. And so therefore, we have to say that we're talking here about a general message which is made up of all sorts of opposite extremities, and it's koilo, all of them together. So we need to sort of try and figure what is this, Shalom, we have to try and figure what is this message that links all these things together. You follow? What is that? Niten la hochia, zois. So the Rebbe said we have to say that it's all one inyan, so. Gam mi'a'uvda shaluchas harishonos muskores kan bepirtot. So the Rebbe says another puzzling thing which leads us to understand what we just said, that there must be some united message here, and everything is important to that message, even though it doesn't seem to actually be the central thing what's happening. And that is that the Luchas Rishonos are mentioned here in detail. Puratut means in a lot of detail. We're told that they were Luchas Even, they were made out of stone. Ksuvim be'etzbo Elokim, they were written with divine writing. It was Kaviyohu with the finger of the Eberster, that was the writing. Yeah, and then it's written Luchas Ksuvim Mishnei Evreihem. They were written from both sides. And Rashi explains that means that you could read them straight from both sides. But that's impossible. Well, that was a finesse. Shekain Imaskoras Aluchas Rishonos Bo Raka Hakdoma Bilvad Lamaisa. That's just apparently an introduction. In order to tell the story of the destruction of the Luchas, you have to say that we got the Luchas and then they were destroyed. But since it would appear to be only an introduction, then it could have been mentioned just briefly that Moshe Rabbeinu, particularly in Parshas Yisro, we learned how he got the Luchas. So we could have just said Moshe Rabbeinu had the Luchas and then he broke them and the whole thing. But instead of that, the Torah tells us in detail of all these unbelievable milas that were in the Luchas Rishonos. So we're going to see that promotes another small question. So the Rebbe said the whole inner of the mentioning the Luchas Rishonos is only an introduction to the whole story which occurs here, which is Ma'aser Egel. As ein tzorich lahazkir kan et malosum. You don't need to go into all the milas of the Luchas Rishonos. They're not going to last anyway. In the next instant of the whole narrative, they're going to be broken. So what's the point? And particularly we know that Moshe Rabbeinu had them anyway from Matan Torah. So he says, Lo Yishayach shemokum boim asupa ida shviras haluchos yitzainu es goydel ma'alosom of the first Luchas. Yeah, zeh harei la'ag l'rosh. There's a pasuk in Mishlei which says that you must not scorn a poor man, let's say a hopeless person, and you scorn him about something that he can't help, and he feels very bad from that. So you've got to be careful. That's the reason when we go to a levaya, we should never have to go to such things. You have to be careful to put your tzitzis in, because a past person has already put tzitzis. And if you walk around with your tzitzis sticking out, that's like you're scorning him. You know, I've got something, but you don't have this, you know. That's called la'ag l'rosh. You know, you have to be very careful whenever somebody's a little bit hopeless in a certain inyan, not to, as it were, remind him about that or make fun of it. So the Rebbe says, since the Luchas Rishonos are right at the beginning of our narrative are broken, why do we have to say how great they were and what all their milas are? It's like, you know, laughing at the unfortunate person, because the Luchas are going to be thrown away in the next instant of the narrative. Moshe Rabbeinu is going to toss them away. So why make a whole thing of it when we don't have the Luchas? We're hopeless. We can't do anything about it. So the Rebbe said that's like la'ag l'rosh, and that's easy and allowed to do that. So he said, Ella, שגם הלוחס ראשונים מוזכרים כאן בתור חלק חשוב מההמשך עניונים אחד. So the Rebbe said, what we have to say, that this praising of the Luchas Rishonos is all part of this message, unbelievable message, which is going to be built out of all this, what happened. You know? And therefore we have to mention, even though it's got a certain trace of it, of La Glorious, but it's not really, because it's important to the whole general message which is going to come out, that you have to mention the value of the Luchas Rishonim. Nakuda zu nechina gam ledas Rashi. So the Rebbe said there's differing opinions about this. Over Rashi holds sha'advarim kan lo mofiam keseide hitrachashusam. So Rashi learns that the things we're told about in Parshas Tisa don't necessarily all go according to that Seder. Rashi learns, what does Rashi say? Shekein gam l'shitose yesh tere babia, I'm sorry, sha'advarim kan lo mofiam keseide. Rashi learns that first of all there was the how do you call it, the Shviras Haluchos, and then there was the tshuva that Moshe, or the prayer that Moshe Rabbeinu prayed. Then there was the, wait a minute, there was the Shviras Haluchos, and then Moshe Rabbeinu prayed. And then after that, there was a period of time when he went a second time and he went up a third time. And then he got the Luchas Shniyos. And then afterwards, when he came down with the Luchas Shniyos, he gave the tzivui to build the Mishkan. Over here, the way it appears, it's all not according to that Seder, and particularly that the whole tzivui of the Mishkan has been mentioned before in Truma and Tetzaveh, and particularly that the whole, how do you call it, Luchas Rishonos, they should have been mentioned at Matan Torah, all the milas. And when you mention over here the milas, was not, you know, that's not where they should be mentioned. Because here we're talking about breaking them. Would have been much better to mention all the milas of the Luchas over there when it happened. So it's all kilo, not lefi aseda. And Rashi points out in detail how it all happened. First of all, on Shivos of Batamas, it was broken. Then Moshe Rabbeinu went up, and then he came down, and he went up again. Rashi even himself will say, it's not this Seder at all. So that was it, the Rebbe. Yeah, Yesh Torah Babia Madua Mofim Protim Ela Beretzav Aaron. If that's not really according to the Seder that they happen, then why do we mention them in a way that they all seem to happen? Yeah, one immediately following the other. So he said, Gam Madua Milas Aluchas Rishonos Moifia Khan, V'lei B'Parsha Mishpatim, where that was the finish of Matan Torah. Yeah, Sheshom Masuba Barchova Oides Aluchas Rishonos. In other words, how Moshe Rabbeinu got them from heaven, and how he made a bris, and how there was Hazorah and the Tvila and all the Tanayim that he didn't have to be Mekabel the Torah. Over there, we should have mentioned all the milas of the Luchas Rishonos. Nekudas noi sofas b'parsha, Hadershas Hezba. There's also a few more points in this parsha what they require explanation. Aleph, ma kesher bein Maisa Egel v'haluches. What is Beklal, the kesher between the Maisa Ha'egel and the Luchas? They seem to be completely opposite things. The Maisa Ha'egel is Rahmanin Islam falling into the Inyan of Avodah Zorah. That's Hebrew, Inyan Shal Matan Torah, Luchas. And he said, what's the connection between the Chet Ha'egel and the Haluches, the Luchas Shniyos, which are given the two completely different things, even though the Luchas Shniyos come after the Chet Ha'egel. But what sort of kesher do they have? Tell about them separately, mention them in separate parshas. And the Rebbe makes a whole cheshbon we could have mentioned later in Parshas Vayakhel, we could have avoided that whole sort of connection. Now the fact that the Torah does it is a similar, there is a connection. He said, L'bein shloisha haragolim amofiyim b'siyum parsha. What all of a sudden towards the end of the parsha we have the three Pesach and Shavuos and Sukkot occur right towards the end of the parsha. what are the Yom Tovim got to do with the whole narrative of what's happening? What's that got to do with it? So he said, Ma kesher bein Shem haparsha ki siso shemedaber oides matis hasheko betchilas haparsha lekol emshech haparsha. What's got to do? And here we notice lekol emshech haparsha hamidaber oides haluches v'chulu. So what is the point in that question? Is that the whole parsha is called Kisisa. The whole parsha is governed by the words Kisiso. And Kisiso is connected with the giving of the Matzos HaShekel by the cloudy soil. Well, that doesn't seem to have anything to do with the whole story later. The ego and the luches doesn't seem to have any kesher. And yet, nonetheless, the whole parsha is called Kisiso. Is a siman that the Lashon Ki Siso does have some sort of connection, with the whole parsha. So we need to know what's got to do with the Keit Ego and the Lucha. Ki Siso, number Gimel, Ki Siso Pirushay Aliyah. Siso means to elevate. Vaisnasa. Ve'ilu b'Keit Ego is a Yerida Ki Gedela. It's like two complete opposites. They have no connection. Madua karna yahoid. And at the end, Moshe Rabbeinu gets this that his face shines. And that's mentioned right at the end of the parsha. After everything, so after the Luchas Niyas, after Kola, in Yonim, Mamis, Omer says to Rabbi, what's that doing there? The karna yahoid. So Moshe Rabbeinu, why does that have to be mentioned after all these in Yonim? L'chera, we could have mentioned Karna Yehoid of Moshe in Parshas Vayakhel or some other place. Yeah. Why do we have to mention it here after all these narratives? Madur Karna Yehoid nitla Moshe davke maluchas achroinais v'loi b'rishoinais. Oh, so here's another question. The Rebbe said, if we're going to say the luchas rishoinais are so high, then why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu get the Karna Yehoid by the first Luchas? Only after he got the second Luchas, and he came down, then he got the Karna Yehoid. He should have got the Karna Yehoid when he was given the Luchas Rishonis. That was the highest Madrega. Yes, Arigam Luchas are Rishonis. Yeah, Nena Moshe Miziva Shechina, for sure. He had the Ziva Shechina on a higher Madrega. And the whole reason why he got the Karna Yehoid was from the Ziva Shechina. So he should have got by the Luchas Rishonim. So that's just, there's a whole long passage of the Sikha, which in effect deals with all these questions, Bariga. So that's like a brief, summary of all these detailed kashas. B'ktei lahovin zois, in order to understand all these kashas, Oleinu ledaz, we have to know, shebekol parsha b'Torah yeshno chidosh miyuchad. Every parsha in the Torah has got some inyan, what it wants to give over. In other words, let's put it this way, there's a special message which is peculiar only to that parsha. Hakayom afarak boi v'loi b'shum parsha acheres. And this message is only in that parsha, not in any other parsha. So the Rebbe develops on that. He's going to bring in a moment the statement of Ben Bagbag and Ben Hey at the end of Pirkei Avos, and from that we're going to see that every prat in the Torah has like the whole Torah included. It's like a general message in every, but it comes out through a certain inyan in the Torah. It's just it has in itself a Dover Kloli. So that links it up with the Klolos HaTorah, or with the message which appears is a special message peculiar only to that parsha. Ubinyoneinu, a chidush b'parsha ki siso. Yeah, what is the chidush over here? Shebo niten lirois es kol habriya kula. The Rebbe said the chidush over here is itself a general message that the whole creation is summed up in all these zigzagging inyonim, which we say, that the whole creation is built and as it were, contained in this, including the tzimtzum and all the shtoshelis and everything. It's all included in this parsha. Ube'etzem eshkol einyonim kulam, everything. So the Rebbe makes it ki siso is like a general parsha. There's no general parsha like this. And each message is peculiar only to it, but it's like, it sums up the whole Seder Shtaushlet, the whole Bria, sums up everything a man has got to do. It's like something which has in itself all the details condensed into one amazing general message. That's what he has to say. So he says, Omnam, of kol dover b'Torah, it's true that in reference to anything in the Torah, Nema, what's his name, Ben Bagbag, and what was his name, Ben Hey, they were Geritic, you know, it's put down in the Meforshim that they were Gerim. And it could possibly be it's the same person. It could be it's not necessarily, that's not for sure, but whoever it was, they were Gerim, yeah. So hafokba v'hafokba to kulei. You must be always learning the Torah and draying the Torah upside down the whole time. You must always be struggling with the Torah. Why? Because everything's there. You will find everything you need to know is hidden in it. Therefore, you should dray the Torah the whole time. That's what Ben Hey says. So he says, Kaloima, shebizbonanas pinimias, nitain liresh b'kol dover v'Torah, es kol einyonim kulam. If Ben Hey says kulei bo, well, that means that ultimately everything is found in every detail in the Torah. And that's based on a klal, that when Hashem created all the details, he did it through looking in the Torah. First of all, he looked in the Torah, and then. So it's mashma from certain lashonas, both in the Zohar and in the Medrash Rabbah, that Hashem created everything through the Torah, meaning that the whole Torah, as it were, went in to all the different pratim in the Bria. Yeah, it's not, and in the Torah, you know, in every detail in the Torah, everything beneged to the Bria is really there. And that's why Ben Hey says that you should turn it over and upside down the whole time. And therefore, we described it, I don't remember when. I think maybe when I gave the shir in the yeshiva the other day, I don't know. But there's a lot of Yidden that when they learn the Torah, you know, they mamish, you know, they throw themselves around and they get very, you know, carried away. You don't see it so much in Lubavitch, but I used to go into a stibble where I couldn't hold out. I just couldn't. They would throw themselves around the arm. That's why, because you gotta dray everything you learned. You gotta turn it upside down. So you have to physically turn yourself upside down. Yeah, and that's why it is that whenever Yidden learned Torah, it was always, you know, yeah, there was always like a nigan, you know, it was always up and down, you know, around here, you know, a thumb, you know, because it was always, you know, draying upside down, you know, and that's the way you get to the inner message of everything. So you see, everybody's got a point. The Babish is very moichen, you know. The Mittler Rebbe particularly, he brought that in, yeah, actually very moichen, you know. So, although a lot of the other Siddim, they're into this whole, you know. But they have a point, they have a good point. So he says, Chaloimash, that with his bonus you can see how everything in the Torah has everything in it. Ulam oz adova koro b'mamat. generally speaking, with all the details in the Torah, that's got to do with an effort. You've got to work hard to turn it all upside down. He said, "Ve'ilu b'parshaseinu nitin l'roi zois gam b'stakla shitchis geluya upshuta." He said, normally, to find out every detail in the Torah has got everything in it, you got to work hard. Hafokba, you got to turn it upside down. Here, he said, if you just look in a surface, take away, not in a tremendously deep way, you're able to see how everything is contained in this part. And that's why the Rebbe makes it a very, very central and important parsha. If you just look quickly, you can see it. So how does that go? So the Rebbe said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu koveya, or kova, shekol dover yeh murkav misholesh. When the Eibusha made the creation, everything is built of three main factors or aspects, three aspects. What are they? So he said you got first of all Tchilas Hadover, you have the beginning of the Inyan, and that's called the Rosh. That is the Rosh. V'Kavona, Shelako. Well, that's where the Kavona is hidden and planned, as it were, and it's literally integrated into the Rosh. That's the beginning. And that's Aleph. And then you have Ha'emtza Hadover B'Atmei. Then you have the middle of the Inyan, which is actually the expression of the Inyan in detail, which was hidden inside all the Kavona. You follow? But it starts actually acting. But you get so busy with what happens in the middle that you don't see the Kavona so much. You might be carrying out the Kavana, but you're more busy with the details, you know. In the original Rosh, how it all began, there it was noticeable what was the ultimate Kavana, but it was sort of only a beginning. It hadn't actually come out into Poil. And once it comes out into Poil, you get busy with all the details. You need to be informed of what is ultimately the Kavana, and maybe you might miss a point here and there. Yeah. However, he said the third thing is Ilu Asof Usiyum Ushleimus Ha'inyan. At the end, when you come to the finality, then you see both. You see both what is the ultimate Kavana, and you see the completion of all the work that you've put in, all the details. You see how they've been built into a perfection, and then you're able to see what is the ultimate Kavana. But when you were busy in the middle, you didn't see the ultimate Kavana of it. But you were busy doing your job faithfully. So that's what we call Roish Toik Seit. The head, the middle, and the completion. And that's Oisius Seisa. And there are certain Sforim, I think even in the Sefer Yetzirah it's mentioned, that by night we say by Christmas Shagamita, Ato Seisa Li. You are literally my hidden hiding place. And so the word Seisa is Sof, Toichan, or middle, and Reish. Yeah. And everything, according to the Sefer Yetzirah, everything is divided into those three aspects. So the Rebbe said that's what they are, those three things. So now he says, Kak gam ba'olam. Yeah, he said if we'll take, for example, let's take the world, the way the world is. So he said, first of all, we have Torah. They ever looked into the Torah before. And the Gemara says in Masechta Shabbat, in that same Gemara I quoted the other day in the Yeshiva, the Gemara says that the Torah was many generations before it was actually given by Hashem. Hashem has the Torah, and that's like the Matorah of the whole creation. That's like hidden, the purpose of everything. And then you have the Brias HaOlam. You have in the middle, they have the actual creation, and then people, Yidden, are busy, yeah. We're busy the whole time in the middle. You have to light up the world and to purify it, and ultimately to bring it to the the Gula Shlema, to bring it to the ultimate purpose of everything. And that's, once again, that's the beginning, and that's the middle, and that's the end. You follow? So we notice, and all the way through, we're going to see now that the Rebbe says that the sof and the ultimate siyum of everything is the Gula Shlema. All these different levels of three that he finds, he's always going to say the ultimate purpose of everything is the Gula Shlema. Yeah. Oh, so the Rebbe says, where are we? Siyum. And then the third thing is the siyum, milui v'shleimus hakavona. Yeah, so he said, shloishes eilu merumazim gam b'shloisha oisias harishayni. He said the whole beginning of the whole Aleph base, what's one on that, that's the oisias HaTorah, that's Aleph, base, and Gimel. So he said, Aleph is Anoichi. Anoichi is Yaseres HaDibras. That's the koicha, the Eibush, how he is in the Torah. Once again, how he's looking into the Torah, and that's the Aleph. And then he said you have the inner base, Bereshit. The Zohar and the Medrash say that the world had to be created by base for all sorts of reasons, but the actual creation was base. And that's the next step down from Aleph, and that's Bereshit, Bora Elokim, Ezer Shamayim, Veisa Oret, and that's where the Ika field of Pu'ula on the part of man comes in. And then you have Gimel is Geula. Gimel is the first ois of the word Geula. So Aleph, Beis, Gimel, they are like summing up the whole Indian of those three shlavim, or three processes in the whole creation. Yeah, you have first of all Anoichi, well, that's Torah. Then you have Bereshit Bara, that's the world and what's got to be done with it. And the ultimate purpose of it, like the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, Perek Lamed Vav, that the ultimate purpose of the whole creation is the Gula. That's what he said. That's what it was created for right from the beginning. Yeah. Avamela says the Rebbe, Gam ha'olam atzmoi murukab misholeh. Yeah. So the Rebbe said not just the creation in general, but the actual world itself and the makeup of the world, the way the world is put together, also has three. It also got three like levels in it. So he says, Aleph, Harotzen Livrei Ha'olam. The Avis had to want to create the world. Oh, yeah. Oh, you see, he woke up. That woke him up. That's what we needed to say. Don't worry. I only allow myself to poke fun of people that I really love. You understand? Oh. It's a mailer. There's an old saying by the Siddim, if the Abish didn't want, you wouldn't be walking around on 2 feet. You're only walking because he wants you to be there. Otherwise, there's no reason why you're here. You know? Everything that happens is only because he wants it that way. Yeah? So if you're going to be a sekel, you'll try to do things his way, because if he didn't want you, you wouldn't be here for a second. Yeah. Oh, Mela said that first and foremost is the rotten. Then we have Brias or Elam Bapoyom. The actual world was made, and the Rebbe says in the inside of the Sikha that that's a symptom, that what actually makes the world actually exist is a symptom. If we would have just left these rotten without a symptom, you wouldn't have had the world. But the Dover Shlili, like the symptom, is also part and parcel of the actual makeup of the world. And then he said the last part of the world is what the Alter Rebbe brings in Tanya, Perek Lamed Hey and Lamed Bo, Habriya Begeula Mitas Vashlema, the way the world's going to look after Moshiach and Tchiasar, Amaisim, and then it's going to be another world altogether. Ubaloshan Kabbalah, if we say it in the words of the Kabbalah, Betchila Aleph Hoya Ein Seifi Bulvat. At the beginning it was only Ritzoinoi, and that's Ein Sof. Like he said in Perikop, Beis and Tanya, the Demas Ein Sof is the Rotzen. Yeah. Omel, there's the Ein Sof. Yeah, Le'acham Mikain, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Tzimtem Es oiroi. That's the inyan of the Tzimtzum, like he already said. Vehimshik ba'ilam oiram mugbal bilbad. Yeah, b'shviyol. In order, Gimel, shiyeh shleimus agila elaki, gam ba'ilam hazeh hagashmi. The whole reason why he made the Tzimtzum was Laman Hagiloi, that through the Tzimtzum we get working, and only after we do our work, then there's going to be the Gila of that oil once again that was there at the beginning, but even higher, like it's brought down in the Zurich Kabbalah, and that's the ultimate purpose. So we see that first of all, the Ratzon, what that's Ein Sof, then a Tzimtzum, which means really Gilui, and really the purpose, and then you're going to get to the oil again, the Ein Sofi, of a much higher level even than it was at the beginning. So everybody will allow me to say Alechaim, I think. Oh, you got your own over there, yeah. I got to keep my customers. So he said that Kibbon, now the Rebbe goes on, he said, Mekivan sho'a ilam nivra behetem lahaklodas HaKodesh Baruch Hu b'teirosoi. Since the world was made only through, according to that kavanah and that decision that the Abish had in his will, what actually linked the whole creation with the Ein Sof was what he wanted from it, the will. Like we said, you're not walking around because he wants you to be. There's a will. Bora shegam b'Torah yeshnam shloishes lovim melech. So that Rebbe keeps building. In the end, he sums up the whole world. It's just by the way, we'll maybe mention in a minute. So he says that we have to say then that since everything was because of the Torah, that these three levels are also in the Torah. There's the beginning of the Torah, and the Rosh, and then there's the Emtzer, the Tikhoin, and then there's the Soyim, also in the Torah. So he said, Torah Pesachas, Bebeis, Bereishes. Where are we? Torah is not, Torah Pesachas Bebeis, Pirushehu, Sha'olam Nira B'Shvil HaTorah, Shenikra Reishes. So the Rebbe said, don't worry about the base, that's not an aleph, and we're saying it should be an aleph. He said, the word Reishis is really aleph. Reishis means the first thing. Reishis puts you inside the aleph. So the base is only there in order to get you in to what is really aleph. The Reishis is really the aleph. You follow? So therefore he says, Nika Reishis, Li'acha Mikain Masupa B'Torah, Al kol mitzvahs v'ama'uri shenasu al manas l'zachi keso hilam. The next part of the Torah is all the stories about our fathers. Bereshis is mostly stories. Yosef HaTzadik and everything, all those, Then you have all the mitzvahs in Shmois and Vayikra and Bamidbar. And then you have Devorim with like Moshe Rabbeinu's summing up the whole, So he said that's already the whole aspect of the Torah. We've got to do it the way the world is now and preparing it and elevating it through the mitzvah. So he said, "Ve'ilu siyum haTorah." If what is the end of the Torah? Hu b'kach she'Kodesh Baruch Hu hera leMoshe es kol ma sheyeh ad hayom ha'acharon. It's written at the end of Devarim that Moshe Rabbeinu went up onto the mountain and Hashem showed him Ad Hayom Acharon. He showed him everything that's going to happen. So the Rebbe said, what does he need to know? Everything's going to happen. Elamai, the Eivster was showing him that the ultimate tachlis is the Gula Shlema. It's amazing. The Rebbe learns all these, all finish up with the Gula Shlema. Why did Moshe Rabbeinu have to see all the generations? Because he had to get to the Gula Shlema. So the Rebbe said that's the three Aleph, Beis, Gimel of the Torah itself. So he said we find such a thing in Pirkei Avos. And what is Pirkei Avos? Particularly at the beginning, the whole of Pirkei Avos deals with the Torah and the way the Torah was given to us. So he says in Pirkei Avos you find Yeah, Tchilosom Moshe Kibbel Torah Misinai, the first word at the period of his, Moshe received the Torah at Mount Sinai. And that's Torah. The next wording is Masorah Yeshua. He took the whole Torah. The Gemara says in the Dorim that Moshe Rabbeinu could have put the whole Torah in his pocket. And he could have just disappeared somewhere. That's what the Gemara says. Ella, he was very generous and very thoughtful, Moshe. He gave it over to the whole Klal Yisrael. And so generous he was that Masaruha la Yeshua. If you give something over completely, that means you give over everything. Musarua means opgeben in Yiddish. Opgeben, it means I give over the whole thing the way it is. So he gave everything to Yeshua. And what is Yeshua? Yeshua is already conquering, going into Eretz Yisrael and fighting and bringing about a whole building of the Eber's Kavanah through activities in the world. Yeah. So he said, Masorah Yeshua, Havoras HaTorah mider l'der, ad l'shleimus matoras nesinas HaTorah, Basiyam Pirkei Avos. What's written at the end? Hashem yimloik le'elam voed. That's what's written at the end of the Pirkei Avos. Hashem yimloik le'elam voed, begula mites b'shleima. That's the ending of the Gula Mites. Hashem yimloik le'elam voed. And we have Moshe Kibbel Torah, the whole kavanah of the thing. Masorah Yeshua, he gave it over to the practicalities and everything that's got to be done in the middle. And the whole purpose is Hashem yimloik le'elam. I guess. So, what did the Rebbe say in light of all that? So he said, well, what are we waiting for? Yidden have worked very hard, thousands of years already on this middle section, And this whole war of Yeshua has taken a long time, And there's been a lot of sweat and toil. It hasn't been easy by any means. And there's been a lot of development. And L'chera, Yidden have purified the world. Everything's ready. So therefore the Rebbe said, Ad Matai, And people don't really realize the profundity of how the Rebbe held by that. And I think I've already told you the story. I would say Yud Beis Tammuz was either Mem Dalet or Mem Hay. When the Rebbe brought the Rogatchover says that the Churban is an ongoing thing. It happens the whole time. Rachmanin Klan. So the Rebbe said, just imagine if you were standing there when Titus, Yamach Shemoy, but Machriv gemacht the Beis, he destroyed the Beis Hamikdash, and you were standing there. He said, Volsudok kehrt the world. The Rebbe said you would have turned the whole world upside down. You would have done something. So the Rebbe said, Oi bazoi kehrt the world jetzt. The Rebbe said, if so, turn over the whole world now, because it's happening right now. That's what the Rebbe said. You realize what that is? People hate that. And then all of a sudden the Rebbe lifted up his hand like that. Lifted up his hand and he said, the Mosai. I must admit I've never been able to forget that. I can't quite get that out of my mind. The Mosai was that. Tremendously powerful. That was after he quoted the Rogatchover. And so he said, Oi Bazoi, and the Rebbe looked at him and said, if so, turn over the whole world now. Let's get moving, what's happening? The Rebbe was a big, the Rebbe was really a big fighter, no messing around. So says the Rebbe, Kol se mofia gamba Parshas. All of this that I've been talking about here, all these Aleph, Beis, Gimels, and oh, by the way, and now it'll make sense. In the Gemara says that the Torah is called a Torah Mushulash, 3. And Yidden are called Am Mushulash, Kohen Yisrael Levi. The Torah is Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, you feel me? And was given on a Hamshulah, the whole thing there in the Gemara. Comes along, there's a Pirush of the Rabbeinu Nissim Gohan. He was one of the great latter Geonim. He was before the Rishonim. And he writes a whole amazing list of 3 thumbs in Mountain Torah. Everything was 3. This was 3 and this was 3. It's mind-boggling. A whole long list of everything. There was 3 levels of 3. Yeah, so it makes perfect, fits in perfectly what they're ever saying. That everything, Aleph, Beis, Gimel. If it's all the Torah of the world, Piriovis, which is anyway the Torah, everything, Aleph, Beis, Gimel. You follow? Or what's the final summing up of everything? Hashem Yimloik Li Le'elam V'ed Azim Kain Shalom Aleichem. You know, Hashem Yimloik Le'elam V'ed. Yeah. What's happening?
Mashiach is coming.
Oh. Oh, you have to mean it, which I'm sure you do. So, says the Rebbe, Omnom, where are we holding? Oh, Kol Zeh Mofia Gamba Parshas Seinu. All that happens inside our parsha. Says it came Gam. Ta'alik Mesiras Halucha is Murkab Mishloishes Lavim. The Rebbe said that what ended up ultimately, the Luchas in the Oren Kodesh inside the Mishkan, later in the Beis HaMikdash, it's all divided into 3 like Slavim. Aleph, Beis, Gimel. Aleph, he said, Haluchas Rishonim. The first Luchas were given, and they were Ma'aseh Yedei HaKadosh Baruch Hu Be'atzmi. They got the unbelievable value that they were Hashem's, they were His writing also. Yeah. Beis, Shviras Haluchas. Terribly, shocking and frightening thing. That Shviras Haluchas, Habo Be'ikveis Cheta Ego. Well, that came about due to a chait. Moshe Rabbeinu wouldn't have broken them if it hadn't been for the chait. Yeah, Hamasama is a Yerida Lamata Bo'ilam. So the Rebbe said, listen, Yidden don't sin stamazay. There's a Gemara in the sect of Aveda Zorah, Daf Dalet, on the base. And the Gemara said that the whole reason why the Yidden got involved in the ego was to show the way for the Bali Tshuva. And the Gemara says, Lo hoyu ru'uyim heim le'inyan zeh. The Yidden themselves weren't ra'ui for that they should fall into such a terrible hate. The whole reason the Eibusha made it happen was they should teach everybody that's going to be a choteh later on how he has to do tshuva. Which means that the whole Ike in the chait was really for the sake of other Yidden. Oh, you guys, but anyway, the whole reason why Yidden sinned was all to help another Yidden. So, Kumteis Lefi said that there must be divine plan in the sin. The sin doesn't just happen stone, you follow? So, Kumteis that Yidden went through that sin really for the sake of other Yidden, you follow? They didn't really do it. So, that's what he said. Yeah. That was the whole Shekoin Matoras, Kol Yerida. Any Yerida that happens, he b'shvila aliyah. Shetove Achreyo. We have a cloud that Kol Yerida, aliyah. As if there was a Yerida, albeit a terrible Yerida, like the Cheta Eagle, it must have the purpose of causing an aliyah. What was the aliyah? The Yidden for tshuva. So that when Yidden came to the Luchas Shniya, they were Bali Tshuva. And what does the Gemara say about Bali Tshuva? The B'machim shebali Tshuva eindim afilu tzadikim gemurim einem yecholim la'amayim. Einem yecholim. The whole inning of the Chedei was only in order to get tremendously high. Yeah. Which means that teaches me another thing, Derek Abbott, that when a Yid sins, he doesn't really sin. That's happening for something that means for him ultimately an aliyah. He wouldn't have it otherwise. Hashem wouldn't cause him a leader, and that's it. Yeah. It's all in order. So anything negative, what happens to you, Chassidim used to say, don't spend a lot of time crying about it. You should cry about it a bit, that's for, but don't spend a lot of time, because you've got to build your aliyah. That was only given to you in order to ultimately come to an aliyah. You know. And the Rebbe once said to me in Yechidas that there's certain things that the Alter Rebbe said that Misnagdim don't go for it. Yeah, the Rebbe used the expression Misnagdim. And in public, whenever the Rebbe spoke about he only said non-Chassidim. He never used the word Misnagdim in public. Or in Yechidas, the Rebbe said the word Misnagdim. He said, Misnagdim dingen zich met coming, ja. En die hebben we wel idee more zeggen. That's what he says, yeah. So this is one of them. Only readers are really for the sake of aliyah. So he said, Shekain mator is called Yerida, ubeshvil aliyah, shatov v'yachaya. And he said, Gimel, aluchas achreinas, b'nei Yisrael, choizrim b'tshuva. They all become bali tshuva. Moisha eila shuv elahar, v'yered kavor abayim yom, im aluchas achreinas. And that's the union of Bali Tshuva, Ali Yidna, and now Bali Tshuva, which means that the Luchas Acharinas have in themselves a Maila. They're not be'er to the Luchas Rishainas. However, says the Rebbe, Amna Maluchas Acharinas, Nasu Alidei Moisha. The truth is, you're right. Yeah, Moisha is not their Evisah. They're made Alidei Moisha. V'lo Alidei HaKodesh Baruch Hu, ulam be... ברור שאחרי ירידה כה גדלה ועצומה בחטא העגל, שגומר לשבורת אלוהים הראשונית, צריכה לו עלייה גדולה לאין אורות מהמצב הקודם. Based on the cloud we just said, it must be an uncontrollable aliyah, even when you first look at it at first glance, the Luchas Achroinas look to be a letdown, you know. They're not light. But since they're coming through such a yerida, and there's a tremendous aliyah which is occurring, it must have tremendous milas in it, and that's the mile of the Bali Tshuva. You follow? That's hidden in the Luchas Achroinai. B'nei Yisrael choizrim b'tshuva. Moshe, where am I? Yeah. Ulam b'derech borah sh'achrei yerida kei gedila v'tshuva, שגומר לשפירת אלוהים, צריכה לו לידי עלייה גדולה לאין ארוך מהמצב הקודם. ויוכן, דווקא עם הלוחס האחרינס, נמצא למשה גם התורה שבעל פה. What the Gemara brings down, that if it had only been the Luchas Rishonos, we would have only had Sefer Yeshua, Bilvat. But after the Yerida, and after the whole Ched and everything, then we get the Gemara and Medrashim and you know, halachas and all those things came with the Luchas Shniyas, not with the Luchas Rishonos. You follow? So the famous question is, Rashi brings it in the Gemara, the Zematrikotum, you got to work 50 times as hard because you got all these things to work with. As though you would have had a very easy life, you know, just have to learn Sefer Yeshua. So that's what Rashi says, Nit kolei lahatriachotam. So the answer is the true, all that. That's the sum of all, the whole sum of all. The whole portion of sum of all is all about that. The Davki through the gear that came through the whole Yerida of the Luchas Achroinas, Davki, that's the Tachlis HaShlev. The true, the gear, you're going to reach Atzmas, Mamis, in a Zal, even that wouldn't have been possible, even with the Luchas Rishonos.
What?
That's what he said. Yeah. Yeah, that's what he says in Samuvah. That's very interesting, by the way. I don't know if he's listening, but I saw in a Sefer last night, I was looking up something. It's not a Chabad Sefer. And normally they don't quote Chabad Chassidus. You know, they sort of say it's too, you know, highfalutin. And he brings a point there, a very interesting point, and he's got a footnote, and he says, Ayin behemshach, yeah, Tofrei Samavo, Meyesh Kweit Kedusas, yeah, Hamar Shab, Nishmos Eid Milubavitz. That's what he writes. You should look up some of it. So my eyes jumped out on stalks, you know. Here's a sefer written by somebody completely not Chabad, and he makes a point that if you want to really know about this point, yeah, learn the Hemshech Samavov. That's what he makes there, yeah. I must say, how do you call it? The world's improving. Yeah. So, what follows the next heading says, Lo Yerida Amiti. There's no such thing as a Yerida Amiti. That's what the Rebbe goes on to say. That the ultimate message of the whole Parsha, with all the zigzagging, is there's really there's no Yerida. It's only occurring to you, even where it appears to be opposite Ratzon Hashem. Hashem himself, as it were, brings you to that Nisoyan, because he wants you to chop what's really going on and turn that into an aliyah. That because you fell down, you've got to get up and make a, how they call it in English, a comeback. You know, but you've got to make the comeback with a tremendous zest. And with that, you show that in the whole Bria, there's no such thing as a Yerida. And that's what's written in the Mishnah, in the Sekta Markets, Yerida Tzorech Aliyah. So listen in the Mishnah, Yerida Tzorech Aliyah. Sometimes a man wants to go up, but he has to go down in order to go up. So the Chassidus took that point out of the Mishnah and said that's the way the whole creation works. And that's the message. And if you do that, then the Rebbe says that you can be a bit like Moshe Rabbeinu, that your face will light up. So it could be a kind of shine like Moshe Rabbeinu's face. It's well known, the story about the Chaver Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Avu in the Yerushalmi, that he wants to learn a new brisa, and his face, mamish lit up, Tzahavu, Pono, and he walked past the Goisha, Matronisa, and she said, he's up to something no good. His face is all, poop, giving off rays. Must be something funny here, you know. So she heard that the Rav of all these Talmudim was coming behind. So she ran down to Rabbi Yochanan, and she said, you've got to tell him he's up to no good. So Rabbi Yochanan said, up to no good? One of my Talmudim, I said. So she said, yeah, his face is giving off these rays. She said, only somebody's up to no good does that, you know. So Rabbi said, oh, yeah. He said, he must have found a Tisa Chadata. He's got a new, he said, he's got into some new inner, and he's lining up. So the Rabbi said that happens in a small way to everybody. And that comes doubtfully because you horror, and you break your head, and you struggle, you know. And if you had an Ali, you struggle, you read it, you struggle even harder. And that gives you the right that your face lights up a bit, yeah? That's why Moshe Rabbeinu, he's Moshe Rabbeinu, yeah, his face lit up so much that he couldn't take it. He had to put on a masper, because he knew that the whole Yerida was only Tzorech Aliyah. The middle of the Luvas Rishayim, in that regard, have a mila over the Luvas Rishayim. I mean, the Luvas Achrayim, sorry. Luvas Achrayim have a mila over the Luvas Rishayim. That's the whole inyan. Of a mila. From that, the Rebbe goes on to say that you've got to get working. And the main thing is you mustn't be spoiled, and you mustn't see anything as a Yerida. There's no Yerida. It's all these things to bring to Aliyahs. If just keep working, you know, don't sign over, don't get into a bad mood or anything. Just keep. Yeah, I had a bit of a doubt. Eddie could brush off the dust, you know. You know the famous, there's a moshel in the Zohar Kodesh, a very amazing moshel. The Zohar says that if a hen or a turkey if they get dust, they fall into dust, they get all dusty. But he said, what do? They just go, have you ever seen that? I've seen it, yeah. You ever see a hen or a turkey that's all covered in dirt? What does it do? It goes, and in a minute, like that, all the dust just flies out, and there's a big cloud of dust over it. He's clean like. So the Zohar Code says that that's what you're supposed to do. If you got dirty, then go like that. Come back for more, and you'll be you'll be clean 100%. As they state in the Zohar, yeah. Of guys, that's the message that unites the whole Tisa together. That there's no Yeridas, ain't the it's all to show us that they're all be'etzem aliyah. Even the Chet HaEgel, like one in Khan, so. But that's the pshat. Hashem should help us. We got to get more. Oh, so right near the end, the Rebbe said about Purim, and the Rebbe said the whole Purim is like that. There was a terrible gazelle, and that was only to bring out the Mesiras Nefesh and the Emunah and the Bitochen. It was all to make the Yid bigger, more powerful. And that's why they beat him and knocked him for a sixer. They knocked him into the outfield because they took the Yerida and they made it into an Aliyah, you know. No. They turned the whole Yerida.
Rabbi Gafni, the first luchos is said with a vav and the second is without a vav. The first is with a vav and the second is without a vav. Luchos is with a vav and one is without a vav.
Yeah, there is such a thing, but that's not, the Rebbe doesn't...
I just want, because I realized maybe...
It could be in some of the footnotes, there's hundreds of footnotes.
The sun and the moon, the face was lit on the first luchos like the sun.
The Gemara learns out from that really they were both the same in size and everything. They were similar, and that's why it's mentioned without the vav. That means that both of them were mamish the same.
Oh, without that.
Yeah. Good. Okay, guys. So, l'chaim, everybody. And let's start turning everything into an aliyah. It's a hard piece of work. Yeah. Hard piece of work. What's his name? England or Australia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for referring to you that way, but I had to catch your attention. So you have to say l'chaim, and you have to... We have to know that we're going upwards the whole time. We're going upwards the whole time. We're going down. We're not. We're going. No, we know where to go. And that's what I told you the other day. So I don't think you can say l'chaim on coffee, but. Ay. You're already looking a bit better. You look a bit better already.
Thank you.
L'chaim. So listen, guys, we're holding by Moitzi Purim Koton. So the other day, we were learning in the yeshiva, in the shul we had, and we see that the whole with Haman was that he couldn't, what he couldn't put up with the very entity of a yid. It didn't matter what sort of a yid, whether you were a Harikot, a Sfadi, or an Ashkenazi, or whether you were, a Shtreimel Chassid, whether you were a Chabad Tsfat, whether you were, or you put on 3 pairs of tefillin or 4 pairs of tefillin, Rabbeinu Tam, he wasn't interested in that. Just the very fact that there's Yidden, you follow? The very existence of Yidden, that was Maval Haman. And that we see from the fact that when he was accusing against the Yidden with Achashverosh, he said to Achashverosh, he said, Yesh noi am echad, mefuza u'mefoirod bein ho'amim. Comes along the Gemara, and the Gemara says that Al tikrei yesh noi ela yoshnu. Yoshnu min ha-mitzvahs, that he said, and Shtam Achashverosh means the Eivester, according to the Medrash Rabbah. So he said to the Eivester, you got these Yidden, and they're sleeping from the mitzvahs, you understand? They got a whole list of 613 commandments, mitzvahs, and they're not doing them. You follow? So I asked the question, what did it really mean to Haman? It didn't mean anything to him. No, then, he wanted to be Makatri. He said that not because it bothered him, he said there was a way of Kitro. So it's mashma in some of the great Meforshim that maybe he had a bit of a point here and there. Maybe there was a few. You didn't attack a little bit, not so much per se, at that point. And that's what we learned, that they became Bali Tshuva, all of them, through the Gezerah, which means that maybe some of them had from what to be Chayza. Yet nonetheless, Haman couldn't put up with him. He was only saying that because there was a kitro. Oh, but he didn't care about that. The very fact that they were Yidden, just the fact that a Yid was there. So therefore, later on, it's written that he wanted to destroy all the Yidden, Es Kol HaYudim Am Mordechai, the people of Mordechai. What he didn't like about the Yidden is that they were Am, and Am can mean simple people, or not even particularly high standard from people, stum people. But they have a connection with Mordechai. Somewhere or another, they're affected by Mordechai, and they're linked with him. He doesn't want that. The very existence of a Yid, doesn't matter where he's holding, he's got a connection with Mordechai, who he doesn't want him. Is that the very existence of a Yid, that was and therefore when he made his Gezerah, it was Lahashmidu Laharig, Rahman Islam. At Hanukkah time, it wasn't like that. They tried to rule out the ruchness of Yidden, and Mamera affect them also materially. But the Ika was they couldn't stand the ruchness of Yidden. Here, he couldn't take the very existence, the etzem matzias of a Yid. Ze bilbeloto, you follow? have to get rid of it. That teaches a very important thing. And that teaches us that we also have to feel the same way. We're going to know that every Yid, just the fact that he's a Yid, and just the fact that he's there, that is the ultimate tachlis. That's the ultimate perfection, and that's the ultimate thing what Hashem wants. It might be that you notice him, he's in, the way you understand it, he's in a Yerida. What did we just learn now? That if he's in a Yerida, that's ultimately, and that's Hashem's business, not your business. Al titarev, the business shelo shulchan. Don't mix in. You follow? You don't like him right now, you have a problem. Oh, but he's a Yid. You follow? There's certain things that, look to be critical. Criticize the things, but don't criticize the Yid. You understand? Well, Amir Kunta is that the greatness of Mordechai and the difference of Mordechai with Lahavdil Haman was that Mordechai saw the greatness of every Yid just the way he is. So in order to do everything possible, Mordechai said, come on guys, let's all get together and stand firm and we'll all be Chayza B'tshuva, but Claudia. You know? But that was a Messiah never. He was talking to Aliyah, no matter what the situation was, all of us together. And the Alter Rebbe says in Torah that all the Yidden went along with Mordechai. Everybody. And they all were in a situation where they didn't have one makshova bilti tahira benegeta avodah zarah in Holland. Everybody was perfect. They were all going to the, whatever, to be killed. We're all going to be executed or killed and wiped out. Although we're never going to swap, or we're never going to be mavater a few on a prat echon. You follow? As much as what each one understood. And that's an amazing thing. And that's the koyach of Mordechai. So a lot of people ask, what was the koyach of the Lubavitcher Rebbe? What was the unbelievable koyach? You follow? So did you ever meet up in somebody, well, what is the koyach of the Lubavitcher? What is the koyach of the Lubavitcher? I told you the story. That one of my Talmidim that he works in a bank, he said he's going to the Rebbe. Would anybody like to give him a name to be mentioned? The whole bank, tens and tens of people, all the workers in the whole bank came running to when they all want to give their names to be mentioned at the Levant. Males and females. He thought maybe 3, 4 guys. Everybody, the whole bank. And he went to the Rebbe with a bag this big, of names. And he phoned me up and he said, well, Gafni, what am I going to do? What's that? I don't know if I got the quiet to read all these names, what am I going to do? So I said, you go into 770, find yourself a corner, and put on your toes and fill it, and just, sit down if you want, and just, put down all the pieces of paper in the corner. Even if you don't have the quiet to read them, just put them there. You guys are batloning my chance. Well, he phoned me up and he said, what am I going to do with all these names? How am I going to tell them? Hundreds of them. Well, I went on 100, but at least 100. It's a big bang. Yeah. They okay. So what's the Lubavitcher Rebbe's secret? What is the Nakuda? So the Nakuda is, did you ever hear of a Bad, how do you call it, in 770, that on the day when the Rebbe gave out dollars, they would sift all the people and find out who, maybe he's okay or he not, he's a bit fry, he's a bit this. You ever hear of such a Bad? No. Now, everybody went past the Rebbe, got $1. Yeah. You mean to tell me that the Rebbe's holy eyes weren't able to see sometimes who he's got to deal with? Or he got a dollar just like anybody else? Because the very Matthias of a Yidden does it, Haman didn't want that. You understand? Just the fact that a Yid is there, that's the Ikar. I might be at this moment, that's not your business. It's not our business. Well, maybe you got a problem, he does certain things, so try and deal with that in. Talk about that in, but don't play him down. Because he's a Yid, you understand? And that was the Rebbe's, or that is the Rebbe's secret. That's the Kerch of the Rebbe. The Rebbe never mentioned anybody's name. Whenever the Rebbe said anything not particularly praiseworthy about another Yid, he never mentioned his name. You don't know the famous story. The Chassidim used to have these meetings after certain Farbringen to try and work out, Mendel. So they used to try and work out who did the Rebbe mean. The Rebbe spent about a quarter of an hour talking against a certain Indian. He meant somebody, but he never said who he meant. You always say, a Sadua Yid, but after that, the Rebbe would talk about the Indian, and so people would all sit down later, and they'd all try to work out who is this. Maybe it's this, maybe it's this guy. And in the end, they used to print the Derech Efsha. Maybe this is the guy that wasn't there every minute. Problem was, because the Rebbe never had a problem with a Yid directly. He might have had a problem with certain things, but not with the Yid directly. And that's an unbelievable koyach. You follow? And that's Moshe Rabbeinu. That's the koyach of Moshe Rabbeinu. When Moshe Rabbeinu prayed for the Yidden, that's exactly what he did. He said, these are your people. And he said, Ki amcho hagoy hazeh. You understand? And the Rebbe Rashab says in Amman, we learned it. We learned it last night, that the Russian goy is not a high madriga. To call a Yid a goy is not a proper terminology. Even if you mean something relatively harmless. We say every day, Shaloy Sami goy. It's not a good word. Nonetheless, Moshe Rabbeinu said to the Eibush, Ki amcho hagoy hazeh. And if you don't take him and you don't take me together with him, forget it. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu said to him. So I say I can't shake anybody up here. I thought somebody would get excited, but everybody's taking it very personal. Oh, but that's the Indian. You follow? But that's the sword of Purim. That's the sword. You follow? Oh, but the Ike is, it has to be living. It's got to be alive. You have to really think that way about a Yid. Don't care. Don't worry about and therefore there were certain big Polish Gedolim that they would never say who they were talking about. Never. However, occasionally, once in X years, they would mention them. Or they would, and they tell a story about one of them. If ever you heard anything against a Yid, you would say, oh, no. There must be a goy that acts like that. There must be some really unpleasant fellow. He acts that way. That's him. Oh, but this is a Yud, that's how they call it. A Yud. And he would refuse. He refused utterly to hear anything against another Yid. Yeah. I even know what it was. Oh, it doesn't matter. A few, he just would not believe that it's at all possible there could be such a... I mean, either it's wishful thinking or, sitting in that tika we learned tonight. If anything negative appears on a Yid, it's only Hashem's way of getting him to go higher than he was. It's not your business. Leave it up to the Abraham. You got to just value the fact that he's there. And that beats Homer. That's what beat Homer. Mordechai, the simple, ordinary Amcho, they were all with Mordechai. And that's what beat Homer. That's what knocked him over. Oh, you have to do it with Simba. You've got to be levity. It's written by a Malik. You have to remember what a Malik did, and then it's written Loi Shishkoch. So if you remember, you're not going to forget what's in of Loi Shishkoch. So the Sefer Chinuch and other great poskim, they said it's another mitzvah. There's a mitzvah to remember, and there's a mitzvah not to forget. Like two, inyonim of the same idea. There was a big Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. He wrote a sefer called the Chuas Chaim. And he knew the Baal Shem Tov from when he was young. And he grew up literally as a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. And when he was young, when he was a bocher, the Baal Shem Tov praised him, and he told the other Talmudim, you have to be careful with this guy. He was just a young fellow, yeah. His name was Rav Gedalia Milins, was his name, yeah, a most amazing guy. So he comes along, and he says that Loi Shishkoch is just telling you what will happen to you. If you will remember properly, then Loi Shishkoch, you're not going to forget. It's not a mitzvah, it's just telling you, it's like a promise. And the Alter Rebbe says a very similar thing in Torah, that the majority of the mitzvahs, negative commandments, are really promises also. It won't happen to you. You follow? But he says, Loi Shishkoch is a pure promise. And he said, he said, it's only when you're Levitic. You have to look at another Jew, Levitic. But he said, if you're cold, and he said, that's a Malik, that's the Asher Korcha B'derech. And he says, a klal b'klalei ha-rufua, shemishu hu kar, hu lo zocher. That's what he says. In his sefer, I looked it up. He said, somebody who's cold, they forget everything, And he said, what do? They forget about a nest. They know something big happened, and they lose the feeling that it's a nest. And what will they do? They'll tell you, oh yeah, there's really a tibius here. There's a natural factor, that you didn't take into account. And due to that natural factor, then this oxidizes and this chemical reaction, and that's why it happens. But you know very well that's a nest. Why do you know that's a nest? Because you're Levitic. You're full of simcha, and therefore you remember everything, and you remember that it's a nest. You don't forget. If you become cold, you become how to call it, indifferent and cold, then you will forget. And you will say that you won't say it never happened, but you'll say it's, it can be proved that this and this gas or something happened, Like there were people wanted to say about the Kriyas Yamsuf that some gas got let up from underneath, and that's what interfered with the water. All sorts of Meshuggah. They forget the nest. He said, if you're really Levitic, and that's the way to remember, you have to be full of simcha, you have to be Levitic. He said, Loi Shishkoch, you're not going to forget. Atalo Tishkoch. And you will live with Lamaila Miateva the whole time. You have the Chayas. And he says, the emes ha'inyan of Yidden is the Chayas in Lamaila Miateva. That's what he finished off with. And a Malik doesn't want you to have that. Haman is a Malik. Haman didn't want. He wanted to turn the Yidden into other Baal Tivas, servants of Achashverosh. If they would have been prepared to do that, he would have left them alone. But he knew that inside these Yidden that looked as if they were goy, they looked a bit sort of, he knew that he found out, he didn't know at the point, but later on he realized that inside they're really bombers. Yeah. And when the bomber became revealed, he was the one that got blown up. We have to be Levitic. Mazel, you look as if you have a headache or something. Are you okay? No. Excuse me. Slicha. It's a mela, have to be Levitic. And it's very interesting that Purim Kotan in Hayom Yom tells how the Tzemach Tzedek chose all the Maimonim in Likutei Torah from 2,000 Maimonim of the Alter Rebbe. 2,000 Maimonim. He chose the Maimonim in Likutei Torah from 2,000 Maimonim. That's Purim. Doesn't say anything about Purim. Doesn't matter. Just for the clever fella. No matter else. What does that come to tell us? That if you learn Chassidus, but they're Mamela, it's Purim. If you learn Chassidus, but they're Mamela, you wipe all these homens off the map. Yes? Because if you get into Chassidus, then you live a day. You follow? Chassidus must live a day. Mamela, Loi Tishkach, you're not going to forget. Maybe somebody else, but not you. And that's, I always am amazed by it. Purim Kota, Hayom Yom, Shemai's over 2,000, my Marim and the Tzemach Tzedek, Shalom Aleichem, very nice. Oh, but that's the whole Indian, that he chose the Maimorim, he chose them. He put a lot of work into it, the Tzemach Tzedek. And he gave you Chassidus, and if you have Chassidus, then you're Loi Tishkach, you're not going to forget. That's the whole message. Yeah. And Mela doesn't learn Chassidus. So, Chaim, I spoke tonight with a guy that said to me, one of the reasons he doesn't learn Chassidus is he learns a lot of Gemara. He's busy with the Gemara, you know. I said, listen, Gemara, you have to learn Gemara. It's Mr. Seren. But you have to find a few minutes to learn Chassidus. Because he will change the whole way you look at the Gemara. Yeah. You have to learn Gemara. That's it. That he had a point. Of Purim Kota.
Right, Ben Chamesh the Torah, Ben Chamesh the Mikra, Ben Esel the Mishnah,
Yeah.
Chamesh the Mitzvah, Ben Chamesh the Gemara.
Well, you already over Ben Chamesh Esrei the Gemara. You already hold it.
I'm 1,001.
Yeah. So you got to learn Gemara. You follow?
For sure.
You have to learn Mishnah also.
The Shmar L'Asr. Gizeh Kol Adam.
Yeah.
Shmar L'Asr.
And we got to learn everything. And then the Eves of the telephone to Zion, Veloy Tishka. The Alter Rebbe writes in Torah earlier that Amalek is, it's written when the Kohen slaughtered a off, you know, Moloch es Roshoi, he broke its head off, you know, with his thumbnail, yeah. So it's brought down in Sefer Vayikra, Moloch et Roshoi. So the Alter Rebbe says Amalek is from the word Moloch. What how do you call him? Amalek does, he cuts off your head. He takes you, he puts his finger in your throat and he separates your head. He said, your head says one thing, but your heart says something completely different. So he said, if you're in a situation like that, you're in the hands of Amalek. He cut off your head, yeah, from your heart. He said, the Amosay Indian is when the head and the heart join together. Oh, that's what beats someone. Yeah. That's what finishes them off. You know the whole story with the Rebbe Rashab in Summer Gimel when he went to the big psychologist. And some people say that it was Freud, you know.
Yeah, there's how went to Freud.
Yeah.
You see on the Wikipedia.
He went to visit this big, and he told that the whole secret of being well, he told the psychology is when you link your mind and your heart together, if there's one union that the mind gives over exactly to the heart, what it knows, then you're healthy. He said, otherwise you're in danger of being not healthy. And he said, majority of people have a problem that, you know, the heart doesn't talk straight to the rush doesn't talk straight to the heart. You know? So when the doctor heard that, he said he doesn't know if he can get that far. So that's what he told the Russia. Yeah. said, it's a very high thing. Then he whispered to the Rebbe, Rayaz, that's why your father's so weak. If he has a menu like that, the whole time his brain and his heart are all one unity. He said, that's a tremendous piece of work. He said, a guy is doing that sort of work the whole time. It's not a pillar that he's tired. And that's what the psychiatrist said. They're afraid to get it. That's the hardest job that there is. Oh. Oh, yeah. So the ultimate story is, like we see the Gula Shlema, the purpose of everything, the ultimate tachlis, and the Alter Rebbe says it in Tanya Perek is to bring the Gula Shlema b'poya. Lo shishkok le'enei harebe is don't forget that your ultimate job is to bring the Gula Shlema. You follow? Ein nachanami of a sof. Our generation, we've reached the point where we got to bring the Gula Shlema. You follow? That's it. Everything is aiming. Kol yemei chayecha lahovi. Good. Okay, guys. So be well.
Kol Yemei Chayecha is your life. It's your life. It's your bechira. Like Kadosh Baruch Hu gave you Chayecha. It's yours.
Yo, I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna go home.